Kroger issues a major produce warning. A major consolidation in the grain and oil seeds purchasing space is happening. A viewer has info on why we're having soy issues out there, at least a strong theory. Netherlands checks in. We got farm reports from Texas and Kansas, and issues with truck parts from a dealership. Some insight on what's going on with truck parts there. We got all that and a whole bunch more to go through in reports coming from you guys from around the nation as well as around the world. Let's jump into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and I believe in us getting the information together and then allowing you guys to see it firsthand if you want to. And we do want to thank our sponsor, Genesis Gold Group. They do a fantastic job moving people out of stocks, bonds, and other risky assets in their retirement plans to gold, silver, and platinum coins. If you're still thinking about it, you might want to talk to Jonathan and his team and get some more information. You can find them down in the description down below, and they'll also be posted on the screen at the end of the video. All right, so welcome to the first day of summer if you're in the northern hemisphere, like most of you are, from what I see from the demographics. But we're seeing that Texas is requesting people down there to stop using power. They are hitting record power use levels right now because of the heat wave. Lots of air conditioning being used, and a lot more people in the state than there were last year. Some of them legally, moving from California or somewhere else, but then a lot of people not so legally, if you know what I mean. So that is straining the grid down there. Hopefully they are getting power coming in from the other interconnects out there, which they probably are. We have not heard word of any pending power cuts at this time. Out there is a major consolidation between U.S. grain merchants. I don't know how to pronounce this one, Bunge or Bunge, and Viterra. They're going to merge to create a giant company. They do purchasing of soybeans and everything like that, and they export a lot of the stuff outside. The deal announced on Tuesday brings the combined company closer in global scale to leading arch rivals Archer Daniels Midland and Cargill. So this is really going to make it so that there's only a few buyers out there. It values Bunge and Viterra at $17 billion each, and of course when they come together, more than that. It's already the world's, Bunge is already the world's largest oilseed processor, and analysts say it and Viterra's crushing business could face regulatory scrutiny in Canada, Argentina, and elsewhere. That's a major shakeup in the, now most of us don't buy from them directly, but we do have a report coming later on kind of why we're seeing soybean oil shortages in the U.S. and other soy products are having issues. And if you're thinking, what does China have to do with that? You're on the right track. Danny says, have you heard of produce issues at Kroger nationwide? Or maybe it's just in my area in McKinney, Texas, which is about 30 miles north of Dallas. Got this notice when I went online to place my weekly order, and they have very few produce items available, at least to order online. Here's the notice. Some locations are having issues with availability of produce items. We are working to address this issue and apologize for the inconvenience. So if you guys are seeing Kroger having issues with produce in your area, let us know about that. Let us know about all your updates. If you're seeing issues at work, if you're hearing things, or if I throw something out there and you're like, hey, I have information on that or something like that, just use the word update and a comment on any one of our videos and give us some sort of geographical location if it's something that would be useful to know kind of roughly where you are. You can be vague if you need to be. You can be like a certain part of a certain state or something like that. You don't have to necessarily give us a city or anything like that. If you want more anonymity, you can always email me directly at poplarpreparedness@gmail.com. This is from a viewer who asked to have their name withheld. We have a friend who works for a large farm outside of Wichita, Kansas. He told us that they have planted 4,300 acres of wheat and only harvested 800 acres. From northern Oklahoma all the way to Wichita, we noticed field after field of stunted wheat. So they live in Texas and they drove all the way up to Kansas, right? we noticed field after field of stunted wheat that was at the most 1 foot tall. At first we thought the fields were stubble from wheat that had already been harvested, but then we realized that the wheat was just stunted and incredibly short. The heads were still on the wheat, and you could see field after field where a couple of rows had been combined, but they just stopped, either because the heads were empty or were such poor quality that they just abandoned them. More than likely for crop insurance to cover them. Just miles and miles of abandoned wheat crops. We've talked about that on this channel, haven't we? We have never seen anything like it. Where we live in northern Texas, the wheat crops we could see were normal and have all been harvested. This is from another viewer. I withheld his name just to protect him. He says, I work in a large truck dealership as a parts professional in the very center of the country. What I see every day worries me. First, I see that our parts inventory is low. We are now relying on just-in-time style delivery for over half of our parts. That means they don't have it in inventory. They order it once somebody wants to buy it. Sort of like Amazon, right? Except Amazon actually has warehouses. We are not stocking much of the inventory we used to due to the cost of having it sitting on the shelves. We are ordering parts from our warehouses all over the country and having them shipped in after our customers pay for the item. Here is the part I am worried about. A UPS strike, which is a non-federal entity, obviously, is about to go on strike. Our shipping infrastructure is about to get hit with a proverbial nuclear explosion, and we as a public are not ready for this. We like our Amazon Prime and our UPS deliveries. So we have a lot more parts out there. Auto parts and truck parts and repair places are not stocking the parts nearby. They're ordering them in, and depending on shipping companies like UPS, which is set to go on strike on July 31st. So that's big news, folks. We're coming closer to that. And I've heard from a couple of you that work for UPS, and it sounds like the union itself is very dead set on bringing this to a strike because they want to flex their power. There is some sense that the last negotiation that happened was not done in good faith, and they feel like they got cheated, and so they really want to bring this to a strike to kind of put UPS in its place. They're asking for air conditioning on every single one of the brown trucks, so there's just stuff like that, is that even really feasible? The Biggs Prep down in Florida says Aldi had almost no chickpeas or cannoli beans either. This is in Ocala, Florida. Always good to hear from Cynthia down there. Lynn in Louisiana. Lynn has an update here, which is a case study on kind of their experience going through a major power outage. So listen and just take some notes mentally or on paper or whatever about kind of how any of these lessons might be applicable to you. This is Lynn near Shreveport, Louisiana. Here we had a severe thunderstorm last Friday. Lightning and thunder were constant for a full hour with winds up to 80 miles per hour. The electricity went out about 2 a.m. It tends to go out when it's not convenient, right? Fallen trees blocked all ways to town on the first day. The generator, they had a generator, but it didn't work. So on the second day, we brought frozen items to a relative 90 miles away where we knew they had electricity. Temperatures during the day were 90 to 95 degrees. At 30 hours, the water stopped flowing. That's something a lot of people don't think about. When power goes out, water will eventually stop flowing out of your taps. Luckily, the power for us returned at 41 hours. There are friends who still don't have power on at 4 days. Today, we restocked the fridge, and our nearest Walmart was restocking as well. They had to throw out all the frozen and refrigerated foods of all sorts. I've learned that I won't keep any perishable, non-shelf stable items in the freezer for longer than a week, other than perhaps a holiday meal. I'll continue to keep vacuum sealed flour and cornmeal in the freezer for extra protection, but nothing more. Regular maintenance of alternative power is on our calendar. The worst part of this experience is having to rely so much on others, but I'm thankful they were so willing to help. Friends, have you done a dry run? Have you had an experience recently where you've had to test things that you're planning on using? If you have a plan, but you haven't tested the components of that plan, just because you've bought it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to operate. Generators are case in point. You need to give them regular maintenance. Just because you bought one and it's sitting in a box doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Have you put oil in it? Have you fired it up to make sure everything is tuned properly? Do you even know how it functions? Those are questions that you need to ask yourself. Make sure that the things that you're going to depend on, and do you even know what's in your freezer? There's another question out there. I won't say who I'm thinking about as I say that. Partially me, but other family members. Do you know what's in your freezer? Like, do you know what you can pull out of your freezer and use immediately versus things that are in your freezer that are uncooked or that will go raw or will spoil very quickly? Or what's in your freezer that you can just simply put off to the side, and if it warms up, it's fine. You'll still have to use it over the next number of days or weeks or whatever, but it won't go bad necessarily. If you're putting stuff in your freezer that, like water bottles, if you're putting things in your freezer that don't necessarily need to be frozen. This is from Yelena in the Netherlands. Eggs are still expensive here. Organic eggs, 10 eggs for €4.79. That's normal size. Standard eggs, $4.29 for 10 eggs. Of course, that's euros once again. Bananas went up 20 cents per kilo. The weather here in the Netherlands is still warm, about 26 degrees Celsius and warmer, and no rain for at least 40 days already. And that's not normal in that area. In the newspaper today, Dutch people must use less water in the future. Instead of 125 liters per day, 100 liters per day. And the reasons for, of course, climate and the overpopulation. The last reason is caused by government and EU, their policies and such. That's a big cut. I mean, we're hearing that all over the place. Everyone needs to use less resources. Everyone needs to use less resources and water and everything like that. So this is from York in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Walmart had very little spices, empty shelves. Looks like the only brand was a few great value brands. Even though during cough we weren't out of spices then. This is from Scott. Steve, since the pandemic, the United States is now a finished soy product net importer. We grow the soy here, but we import the finished product. What's going on with that? And this is by a massive degree. The Chinese buy harvested soybeans at domestic wholesale prices, process them in China, and send them back value-added finished products like soybean oil, etc. And we're seeing a lot of American produce that's happening. They're getting on the empty ships going over to China to then be worked over by their machinery, turned into manufactured food. A large portion of our food is now coming back from China. A lot of it's going over to China and then it's getting manufactured and brought back. How much chemicals are in all that stuff? What kind of stuff is going in there? Do they really have our vested interest? If they have factories over there, they're making food just for export to just the United States, is anybody concerned about that at all? Especially when our president just declared that the president over there is a dictator. If we're going to get into a military confrontation with a country that processes all of our food, does that seem like a wise thing to do? Do you walk into a restaurant and insult the waiter and the cook before they cook your food? Because if you do, you're an idiot. What do you think's going to happen? So, continuing on with what Scott has to say. In my field of interest, we've been seeing an escalating Chinese shadow embargo and massive price jumps. So basically, China's turning the screws on us since they already have us right where they want us. I've kind of been waiting for soy products to be added to the shadow embargo list as the Chinese slowly turn the screws on us. Okay. Holly says, in Indiana, my prepping group goes grocery shopping when it is less crowded. We went shopping today. I really wanted ice cream, but there was not any available, and we went to 3 stores. Dollar Tree freezers were nearly empty. I usually pick up the little 4-pack of baby formula to donate to charities. They're normally $4 to $5 each, but today they wanted $70. A lot of price increases out there. If you are seeing baby formula shortages or baby formula price increases like that in your area, let us know about that because that is a big news item there. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching. Please do keep your updates coming. Just use the word update in a comment and then let us know what you're seeing, where you are. Also, if you want to check out another video, there's one right up here. Or if you want to check out Genesis Gold Group and want to have a conversation with them, you can go straight to their website right here to get some more information. Thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.